Here in South Africa, we're in lockdown right now. I meant to travel for work to Santa Barbara, but since we're under lockdown, we can't go anywhere. I'm an entrepreneur with a tech startup here, and since I travel mostly, I make use of the Regis co-working space for a hot desk or meeting room. It's quite flexible. There's always coffee and pretty girls coming in and out. Since COVID-19 broke, however, I saw Regis as a public or corporate office with many people coming in and out, and therefore I was now stuck with no office. A buddy of mine told me he had an entire unused area at his house, behind some offices. I would be alone. I'd have my own kitchen, lounge, TV, bathroom. The catch? I would have to park on the road. So let me explain the way the road is. It's a steepish road with a massive park and zoo to the left, with 3 entrances and parking, houses and businesses off to the right. I use this road quite often to go to Florida Road, a popular bar and food district. There's only street lights on the houses and businesses side, as there was a red line or no parking line alongside the road on the right and left. I had to park right outside the park. So I parked in the first parking space, nearest to the building I was working at. It wasn't that close, but I still had to work a few meters. I've attached the Google Street View here. The first parking space is where my car was parked on the left side of the road. This story takes place one night before lockdown. I had a call with a company in Denver, Colorado, which I had to start at 6 p.m. SAST. It went well, and I decided to pack up and leave. I wore formal shoes and carried my laptop on my back. Being paranoid, before I left, I looked on the CCTV before opening the gate. I didn't see anyone outside. I then proceeded to buzz myself out, lock up, and walk out. I don't know how, but in the time it took for me to walk from the building to the gate, a man had appeared. He seemed to be either drunk or high, and was just hanging around against the fence on the side of the road where my car was, wearing a hooded sweatshirt with the hoodie down. He had torn brownish jeans and sneakers. I started walking and looked down, keeping track of him from the corner of my eye. Mine was the only car left, so I would assume he knew that was mine. As I got closer to my car, I noticed him starting to walk out towards me. I tried to ignore him. He was still walking diagonally, looking like he was trying to cut me off. He then said, as he was maybe 5 meters away, "Let me help you with your bag, sir." Now I had a comfortable laptop backpack on. I was walking hands-free, and yet he asked to help me with my bag. In South Africa, car guards usually help you with your grocery bags and expect a 5 or 10 ZAR tip, but not this guy. This guy knew what I was doing, where I was going, and what I was carrying. To make matters worse, he had his left hand tucked into his hoodie pocket and was now walking faster. It all went down in just a split second. He suddenly lunged at me, but being a football player, I feigned left and went right. In that split second, I thought if I ran to my car, which was another 10 to 15 meters away, I would surely not have made it. I was fast, but fumbling with my keys. Opening the door, getting in, I just didn't feel confident, so I made the decision of jumping the fence into the now dark park. I made it with just one leap over, albeit slower since my laptop backpack kept bouncing against my back. As soon as I hit the ground, I took the bag off, held it in my arms, and ran. I looked for a dark spot to hide, so I ended up behind a massive tree in the park. There were a few of them, but it was the only one that didn't have a light directly hitting it. I heard him running behind me, slurring his words and saying something like, "Just give me the bag." So my car was on the other side of a tennis court. If I could get to that tennis court, sneak around that and run to my car, I would make it. But there was a lit open space between this tree and that court, and he was running straight through that space. I watched the angle of him running, and slowly rounded the tree to keep myself out of his line of sight. I honestly think him being high helped me immensely here, as he ran straight past and towards the other side of the park. When he was a distance away, which couldn't have been more than 20 meters, I finally made a break for it. Not being quiet now, I pushed away every branch and leaf. He heard it and turned around and saw me. I burst around the tennis court, stupid because I should have just went back the way I came. I turned around and saw him yelling and running back at me, stumbling every now and then, but he was picking up the pace and actually gaining on me. He had a knife in his hand, and it was out now. I puffed my way up the hill, opened the car, and jumped in. I locked the door with my laptop on my lap and started my car. When I looked back at the darkness, he was gone. He must have slunk back into the park when I was out of range. But where? I didn't wait to find out. I skidded and drove the hell out of there. I won't say that I won't work there again. I would. But maybe I'll call an Uber next time. I posted this same story, albeit missing some detail because I didn't want to comment a novel, in an Ask Reddit thread, and someone messaged me telling me to put it here, so here goes. And this happened about 2 summers ago, while I was house-sitting out in California for an older couple I had met at a conference for work. It had seemed like a dream scenario. The couple wanted a vacation in Hawaii for 2 weeks, but didn't want to board their cats. I had been chatting with them about wanting to visit California again, where they happened to live, because I had loved it the first time I went. We figured that we could mutually benefit if I came out and house-sat for them, so I flew out there, and they showed me around for a few days, taught me how to take care of the cats, 2 of them. One of them was extremely shy and I barely saw it, which is important for later, and their plants. They gave me access to their house and cars. These people were very generous, and before I knew it, I had dropped them off at the airport and I was on my own. At first, it really was the dream vacation. I was staying in Oakland and making forays into San Fran, Sonoma, Monterey. In the mornings, I could walk out the front door and shortly be hiking the pass surrounding nearby Mount Diablo. I was just ultra content with the world. I was so enamored by the area that I had actually started looking into taking some steps to maybe relocate out there even. But then one day, about halfway through my final week there, when I got back to the house, I felt really odd, almost like I shouldn't go inside. I shook it off and went inside anyway, because it was getting late and I needed to put out dinner for the cats. Once I was inside, I forced myself to ignore how off I felt. I made some food for myself, went to bed, and was shocked to find the shy cat hiding under my bed and crying. This was the first time I had even seen her close up. The entire time I had been there up to that point, she had never left my host's bedroom unless she didn't realize I was around. Again, I ignored feeling weird and just assumed she had decided I was okay. I went right to bed. I did start locking my bedroom door that night, though. I also remember that about halfway through that night, I thought I heard someone walking around in the gravel outside my window, but after listening for a bit, I didn't hear anything else and went back to sleep. The day after in the morning, I still felt a little odd, but kept up with my plans for the day. I drove out to a little music festival in Sonoma and went clothes shopping. I had an overall great day. When I got back to the house, though, I found the front door locked in a way that I hadn't left it. Basically, my host never locked the deadbolt, only the lower second lock, and that's the only lock my key worked on, so I never messed with the deadbolt, but it was definitely locked. So I had to call my hosts and find the hide-a-key, which, to their credit safety-wise, was buried about a whole foot underneath a bush outside. It had definitely not been unearthed for a long time. So I used that, went inside, and kept the key with me just in case it happened again. And it did, but with a different door. This time I had stepped out into the garage to get a drink, and when I turned around to go back into the house, the door was shut and locked. I could use my normal key on that door, but I was still pretty bewildered. My own cats are pretty whack, so I think in my mind I was trying to come up with a way the cats could be locking me out of the house, but I was coming up empty. I decided I must have had a misunderstanding of how the locks worked, and just wrote it off. I started checking and triple-checking the locks when I went out of the house or out into the garage. That night when I went to bed, the really awful feeling of unease was still there, and so was the shy cat, who was clearly unhappy to see me but also wouldn't leave my side. But again, I just locked my bedroom door and went to sleep. The next morning I felt awful. Nausea, body ache. I had no desire to leave the house, so I decided to stay in and watch Netflix for a day. The vacation stay was for a full 2 weeks, so I didn't feel like I was in any hurry to get all my touristy things in anyways. But as the day went on, I started to get that feeling of wrongness again, and it morphed into feeling incredibly watched. Around mid-afternoon, it got to the point that I was so uneasy that even feeling awful, I decided to get out of the house for a bit and shake it off. I was getting a bit low on food, so I went to the grocery store and bought a couple of food items that I didn't think would hurt my stomach. As I started to leave the checkout, the cashier said the generic, "Have a great evening," and I just instantly started crying, shocking myself and the poor cashier, because I just had this intrusive thought that said, "You might be the last person to ever say that to me." When I got to my car, I was still crying, and my entire body was telling me not to drive back to the house. I couldn't not, though, because I didn't want to neglect the cats. So I drove back. I parked in the driveway and convinced myself after about half an hour to just go open the front door. Once I did that, I thought I would get over it and be able to go in and at least feed the cats. Then maybe I'd get a hotel room after, but my body physically would not let me inside. It was like I was stuck in the entryway. I then made a deal with myself. I would yell into the house saying I had already called the police and that they were on their way. In a panicked logic, I figured that would make anyone in the house leave, so I faced the inside of the house, looking down the hallway towards the bedrooms, and I did just that. The second I finished saying, "They're almost here, so if you want to avoid being arrested, you need to leave now," the light in my host's room turned on, and I heard some banging. I immediately hightailed it back to the car. I called the police for real and proceeded to have a mental breakdown while talking to the dispatcher. Once they got there, they checked the house but didn't find anyone. But the double doors in my host's bedroom were left wide open. I'm so glad the cats didn't get out. There was a pile of food wrappers in the corner behind the blinds, so they said it looked like someone must have been there. What makes it so scary to me is that nothing was taken. Based on the shape of the house, that would have been the perfect vantage point to see me in the living room as I stayed home sick. And to explain this, the house was in an L shape. From the windows into the garden that were in my host's bedroom, you could see into the living room windows. Also, the minute the police were gone, they said they couldn't prove anyone was there. There were no signs of forced entry, and we couldn't get a hold of my hosts immediately to verify if anything had been taken, which once they were back, they verified that nothing had been. So they said they'd patrol a bit, but nothing else. The shy cat was right back in my host's bedroom, and I didn't see her again until I left to go back home. Basically, I think the intruder had been there for at least 2 days, forcing her to choose between 2 strangers, and leading her to choose the one that was at least a little less strange. It messed me up pretty bad, especially because they didn't catch the person, and didn't seem to have any desire to look. I still had to stay in that house for the next 3 days. Nothing else odd happened, and I didn't feel anything off the rest of the time I was there, but the damage was already done. I've never felt completely safe in a home without doing a complete search before bed since, but I'm extremely glad my gut spoke up, and I guess I'd rather have some residual anxiety than be dead. A second-time poster here. I have a few of these. For a little backstory, I worked at a large cell phone retailer through college. The store was in a busy downtown area of the city, so we saw a lot of class diversity. Everything from crazy tweaked-out homeless people to business types on their lunch breaks. Because of this, they wouldn't let only females work at one time. So, story time. One rather slow morning, It was just my boss and I working. He was in the back office doing managerial work stuff, so it looked like I was the only one in the store. This guy comes in asking about our phone plans. As I'm going through the sale, he kept getting increasingly nervous. By the time I checked him out with his new phone, he was weirdly giggle-smiling and fidgeting. I thought he might be nervously gearing up to ask me out. As a socially awkward individual, I expedited the checkout process and quickly excused myself to the back office to hide it out. I'm sure anyone in customer service can relate to not wanting to awkwardly turn down people who hit on you at your place of work. He left. My day went on as normal, but then the phone calls started. I answered the phone. "Hello, this is blah blah. How may I help you?" Just breathing. "Hello?" The breathing intensified. My mind goes to the awkward guy early this morning, but I try not to jump to conclusions. Maybe it's just a prank call. About an hour later, though, it happens again. I hang up immediately and tell my manager, who offers to answer the phones from now on. About an hour later, my manager came out and said someone was calling with a question, and they worked with me. Normal stuff. "Hello, this is..." The breathing interrupted me. I motioned to my manager, handing the phone back. He put the phone to his ear, hears this creep, and just yells, "What the hell? Don't call back here again!" The next few days, my store started getting phone calls asking specifically for me, always responding I'm not working and can't say when I'll be back. I started getting walked to my car after every shift. Then on day 3, after a morning of multiple calls, the guy just shows up. Just one male coworker and I working all day. He walks in with a to-go bag of food and starts perusing the headphones displayed on the wall. I motioned to my coworker. "This is the guy. Red fucking alert." My hero coworker jumped up and helped the guy. "Hey man, what's going on?" This guy was no longer normal awkward guy from a few days ago. He was calm, his eyes opened way too wide, and creepily smiling at my coworker, not paying any attention to me. "How much for the headphones?" Hero coworker starts awkwardly trying to keep up his customer service, asking which ones he may want. This guy just stands there saying nothing. A solid 20 seconds of not answering his questions, just this creepy stare. Then he turned around without a word and walked straight out, the entire time not looking at me. Once he left, my coworker tells me to go to the back and call our manager. I was big time spooked. My manager says if he comes back to tell him he's banned from the store from now on. Not even an hour had passed, and he was back with to-go food in hand. This time the store was very busy. I quickly explained to the customer I was working with what was going on, and ran into the back office. We have store cameras displayed on a monitor, which I was now glued to. I see the hero coworker go up and talk to him. This dude literally walks backwards 10 feet, never taking his eyes off my coworker, smiling. My coworker comes back and tells me to call the non-emergency police number. Police catch him sitting outside with his dog-eat-to-go box. The coworker and I are peeking out the window from behind the phone case display. A young police officer comes in and explains the guys said I asked him to buy me lunch and we were dating. I informed him I had sold him a phone 3 days ago, and he was harassing me since by calling the store multiple times. The coworker backs me up, telling him about the creepy breathing. A while later, 2 officers come back in to let us know he's been banned from the store. Older police officer says to call back immediately if he comes back. This guy is on probation for doing this to other girls. What? The rest of the day goes by, and coworker and I are on high alert. Close to the end of the day, we finally settled down, sitting at the table, shooting the shit, when he suddenly says, "Don't look behind you, but he's back. Just walk into the back room." The guy was standing in the window, looking into the store, just standing there in the middle of the street. We called the police, but he left way before they arrived. A police car parked outside the store for the rest of the shift. I never saw that creepy stalker again. I don't think his motive was to actually date me. I think he just got off on scaring girls. None of his actions were normal by any means. What is up, guys? Blue Spooky here, as always. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it this far to the end of the video. I got a big update for you guys today. It seems like the Teespring store is finally online, so if everything's going well, you should probably be able to see all of the new merchandise on the merchandise shelf below the video. I got some mugs, I got some phone cases, and I got some t-shirts for y'all with the designs on them. All of the shirt designs are under one thing, so if you click on the sweatshirts, it should take you to a page where you can order a different variety of different kinds of shirts. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that. Let me know what you guys think, if it looks good, the pricing, everything. So look forward to that. As always, if you guys liked the video, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined. If you have a story that you'd like me to read, or you have a story that you'd like to send in yourself, please be sure to check the description of the video below, as it contains all of the links to my social media, including my Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, and Twitch accounts. If you do decide to send in a story, please be sure to include in the tagline what the name of the story is, how you would like to be credited in the description of the video the story appears in, and what type of story it is, if it does have a type. Also, if you decide to send in a story, please be sure to properly format it into separate paragraphs. Thank you guys very much for that. If you guys are curious about the music used at all in this video, it's all listed in the description below, in the order of which it appears in, with links to all of the artists as well. So if you enjoy their work, please be sure to check it out and support them. Speaking of artists, as always, my friend Alan is doing the thumbnails for the videos now, so I have links to all of his art pages in the description as well. So if you like his art and you appreciate it a lot, please be sure to check out his pages and go support him, because he does some really great stuff. I think that's all for today, guys, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.